Hold on tight for the next hour. You're entering into a place, a zone called the alternative to the alternative media. It's a place, a special place where even truth seekers fear to tread.
All right, people, let's move like we've got a purpose.
Affirmative.
Okay, guys and girls, we're back on the Investigative Journal this Monday. Yes, I'm back again. As I said earlier, you never know if I'm going to be here or not anymore, but it's a better world when I am, so I know you think the same. And the reason I say it is, every time I do this show, I wonder if I'll ever do it again. We got to increase listenership. Greg Anthony here on the Investigative Journal, FirstAmendmentRadio.com. And today, got a lot of good stuff for you. And nothing planned, just everything right off the cuff. Boy, I'll tell you, I'm really looking forward to this Category 4 or 5 hurricane hitting off the coast of North Carolina. It's supposed to slam right in there. And then, of course, the Navy is now moving its chickens. They're moving their ships out to sea because they're afraid of the little hurricane. What kind of Navy are they? You know, come on, guys, you're supposed to fight for our country. What are you leaving and going out to sea? Well, they say they don't want to get their little ships destroyed. Now, I said I was looking forward to the hurricane. Of course, we look forward to tragedies and disasters when they happen hundreds and thousands of miles away, and that's evidenced by everyone who sits by the TV and listens to a hurricane report or a tsunami report, and let's say there's a big, huge wave coming in off the coast of China, and everybody's sitting there going, okay, and then all of a sudden it's downgraded to just a little ripple, and people go, oh no. And the reason is, we just love tragedy when it's millions of miles away. Now, if that same tsunami was headed for your port city, and you were right on the coast, and you had like 50 minutes to get away, this 500-mile-an-hour wave that's 200 feet high is coming right at you. You're not going to be sitting there in front of your TV wishing for a big tsunami. You're going to be running and headed for the hills, right? And the same thing goes with hurricanes and all this kind of stuff. We secretly, when we watch these things that are going to happen millions of miles away, we secretly want to see it bigger and bigger and bigger. So, for example, now they've upgraded Hurricane Florence that's going to hit directly into this later this week into North Carolina. Everybody's going, oh my God, no, oh my God, no. But as it gets closer and you're glued to the TV set, and you don't live, of course, in North Carolina, and it's downgraded to a 3, a 2, a 1. Oh no, it's only a tropical storm. Hell, I'm going out to play a little baseball. Hell with this. I'm not watching this. I'm only watching it if it's a big one. And a lot of tragedy. And boats are flying all over the place. And houses are flying all over the place. And baby carriages are all over the place. And people are all over the place. And you see this guy giving a news report. And next thing you know, he's pushed. You see him 100 miles an hour flying over the Atlantic Ocean. And guess where he lands? Right into one of those Navy ships that chickens out and goes 200 miles off the coast. Because they don't want to get their little ship hurt. Well, right now it's Category 4 or 5, so all you TV viewers, you're sitting there going, oh my God, it can't happen. But, you know, secretly, you won't watch it unless it's a 4 or 5. It's kind of like the reason you ever wonder why people, and I always wonder this, slow down when there's a car accident on the other side of the street. The reason is, you want to see blood and guts. That's what people want to see because they're so used to it on TV. And the next thing you know, if a car's coming right at you, you're screaming and yelling and, you son of a gun, get out of my way. Well, anyway, that gives you a reason why I said I look forward to that big 4 or 5 hurricane slamming in, Hurricane Florence, slamming into North Carolina. It says it's going to be there in 4 or 5 days. Of course, that makes me think, I was thinking about this today. I should do this every day. I like people, but only for a short period of time, like I said. But, certain things that people do really get on my nerves. One is, do you ever notice these people that always smile? I mean, I hate them. I sit there and I see them all the time, especially when you're in like a Starbucks or somewhere, and you see this person sitting there smiling away at everything. The waitress drops a drink on him, and he smiles. A guy falls head over heels on top of him and ruins his nice little Starbucks coffee with all that stuff on top of it, whipped cream and cherries, falls all over the place, and he's smiling. They never stop smiling. And I just want to walk up to him and go, "Why are you smiling about? What is there to smile about in this world? Did you ever realize what's going on? Did you ever really realize that there's nothing to smile about?" And boy, I could go on for hours telling him one thing after another, but I know they just keep smiling at them. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to carry a piece of tape, and I'm going to put it right across that smile and put on there, "Never smile again," or "Don't smile." What are they smiling about? You ever look at the world's going to hell in a handbasket, and I can go 100 million miles an hour telling them why, and they're going to keep smiling. Go to the next person. And inside, it's that old story, smile though your heart is breaking, smile though even it's aching. And you know the story about the smiling clown. But I bet all these people that are smiling on the outside are crying on the inside, right? That's why, when I go out, I just look like I hate people look at me, and they go, "I don't want to get near him," and I'm happy with that. Stay away. Don't come close to me. He looks like an unhappy person. But you know something? Really, I'm unhappy on the outside and happy on the inside, which is really what counts, right? Everybody tells me, "Really, you got to be happy on the inside." Well, I am happy. I just don't want to talk to anybody today. And thank God that they created cell phones. Now, I use my cell phone as only a distraction. You ever walk down the street and you see somebody coming that you know is going to drive you crazy? He's going to talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, or she's going to talk and talk and talk. Immediately, my hand goes up to my ear with my cell phone, and I'm talking to myself. I'm creating a conversation as I walk by, and they say, "Hey, Greg, how are you?" I go, I'm on the phone, can't talk right now. And I'm scot-free, on my way for a beautiful day, and I won't smile once. Okay, before I get into something serious today, I am going to have to call on somebody else to do my usual Jesuit intrigue segment of my show and my Vatican intrigue, because I'm just not in a serious mood anymore. No, why should I be? I've been doing this for 15 years, and God knows I haven't gotten anywhere with it. And it gets worse and worse and worse. So why in the heck should I be serious anymore? I want to talk about one thing first before I call on someone who I can put on that's serious, and I will find somebody. But I will do that in a minute. But first I wanted to mention this. Okay, people. Yes, I believe that the earth is not a sphere, and, well, here I go again. You see, I'm the biggest hypocrite the world has ever created. So I just do a show on how you shouldn't believe anything, and here I go believing in something. Well, what can you do anymore? But anyway, I think that the earth isn't the way they tell us. It isn't like a sphere rotating at 1 billion miles an hour. And I don't know exactly what it looks like if I was 1 million miles above us, which can't go that high. But looking down on it, I don't know what it would look like. But it wouldn't look like a little marble going at 1 million miles an hour. No, it wasn't. And you know, there's some people who agree with me. Yeah, now listen to this story. You know who Shaquille O'Neal is, right? Shaq? The big guy. Played basketball. Boy, he was good. I remember when I was in Los Angeles once. I was in I think it was a 7-Eleven. And I had one encounter with Shaq and one story about him. So anyway, I'm in this 7-Eleven. I go up to pay, and there's this big guy in front of me. I mean, I couldn't even see the counter. And I walked, and I was behind them, and I'm going, either I shrunk today, or the world has gotten larger. These people are giants coming from a different planet, the Nephilim, or whatever they call them. But none other than Shaquille O'Neal was there. And I'll tell you, when you stand next to him, He is a monster. Man, huge, a good guy, funny. He was having fun with the cash register lady. And then he turned around, said hi to me. I mean, the guy was just real. He didn't, he looked down, he said, "Hey, you little peanut, how are you?" No, he said, "Hey," and I said, "Hey, Shaq, I watch you all the time." He goes, "Yeah, I know, I'm pretty good, aren't I?" That's what he said, I remember. I said, "Yeah." And he said, "I won't bother you for an autograph. I already got Kobe Bryant's." And he looked at me and laughed. But anyway, we had fun. Because the little, if you know anything about basketball, which are the important things in life, Kobe and Shaq used to have a little bit of a personality conflict. Let's leave it at that. But anyway, one of the more I'm going to read this story. It just came out on May 23rd, 2017. So I'm really only a year and a half late. That's not bad. Not bad anymore. But anyway, this story came out. I wanted to find somebody else that believed. Here we go with the beliefs, Greg. That thinks or has facts to show that the earth might not be a sphere. And I would not expect it from a basketball player who plays with that round ball that looks like a globe. But let me read this. It's interesting. Now, Shaq has recanted his stance on the earth being flat. He said it once, then he said he was only joking. And I bet you what happened is the producers came up to him and said, "Shaq, come on. You can't go on like this. This is a terrible thing. You can't let the elites, we know it's flat, but we got to keep fooling the people. So keep fooling them. Don't let them think you know the truth." And he said, "Okay, I'm making millions of dollars here. I'll do what you want." So one of the more perplexing, I hate that word, it's a perplexing word, storyliners of the current NBA season is the growing number of, let me see the growing number. All these numbers are growing. That's ridiculous. How the numbers they stay the same. How do they grow? The growing number of professional basketball players claiming to believe that the earth is flat. Among them, Earth Truthers, Kyrie Irving, so he's a guard, Wilson Chandler, I know who he is, but I can't remember what he plays, and most recently, Shaquille O'Neal. Actually, scratch that last one. On Thursday, O'Neal clarified his position. This was Thursday, almost a year and a half ago, but it was just like yesterday, wasn't it? His previous comments about the earth shape by saying that he was joking. Shaq, and you got to believe him because he's a big jokester. And, he is pretty fun. I mean, Shaq is pretty good. I mean, I got to like him. How are you not going to like him? He's like 7'20", 630 pounds. I mean, of just pure muscle. This guy used to push around anybody. I mean, 3 guys would hit him and they'd all fall down on the basketball court. But he clarified his previous comments about the earth shape by saying it was joking. Quote, "The first part of the theory is, I'm joking, you idiots," O'Neal said on Jordan Harbinger's podcast, The Art of Charm. That's the first part of my theory. The second part is I said jokingly that when I'm in my bus and I drive from Florida to California, which I do every summer, it seems to be flat. When I'm in my plane and we're getting ready to land and I open up the window and I'm looking at all the land that we're flying over, it seems to be flat. The second part is the reference to O'Neal's initial comments about the earth supposedly being flat. That's quite an elaborate joke. He continued his attempts to clarify the matter via Yahoo. Man. He goes, "This world we live in, people take things too seriously. But I'm going to give people answers to my test. Knowing that I'm a funny guy. If something seems controversial or boom, 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 you've got to have my funny points on, right? So now once you have my funny points on, that should eradicate and get rid of all your negative thoughts, right? That's what you should do when you hear Shaquille O'Neal's statement, okay? You should know that he has funny points right over here. And what did he say? Boom, 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 add the funny points. You either laugh or you don't laugh. But don't take me seriously. When I want to take me seriously, you will know by the tone of my voice that I'm being serious. I'm telling you, I agree with you, Shaq. I never take you seriously. You could tell me anything, even that you like Kobe Bryant, and I know you're joking. Okay. This, while rather confusing, seems to be Shaq saying that the general public should have known he was joking about the earth being flat because he's Shaq. Anyhow, he wasn't done from here. Now he goes on and he says this. So we live in a world today, and Denzel Washington said it best. There's too much information right now. There's too much going on. So if somebody says something and they title it and they send it out, by the time it gets to another guy and another guy, it's all messed up. So people actually really believed I was serious when I said that the earth was flat. We actually had people call into the office. Yeah, I did. I said, thank God, at least somebody agrees with me. To clarify this discussion between these Hall of Fame basketball players, Shaquille O'Neal, who asked whether or not he thought the earth was flat, which, just to be clear one last time, Shaq knows is not true. Not true. He said this. He likes this subject. I think he knows something that we don't. He's not telling us. Don't you think? He said this. No, I don't think that. It was a joke, okay? So now that when Shaquille O'Neal says something, 80% of the time, I'm being humorous and it's a joke. And 20% of the time, this is Shaq talking, I'm being serious. But when I'm being serious, you'll know that 20% of the time. And I guess he means that because he said you'll know by the tone of my voice. Well, what if you have a real angry tone of your voice, and I'm saying this, Shaq, and you're joking? You can do that. You can have an angry tone of your voice and be joking. I know that all the time. Because a lot of times I have an angry tone of my voice and I'm joking and people think I'm serious and start crying. And I go, no. 80% of the time, I'm being humorous. Don't you know that? And 20% of the time, I'm serious. But sometimes, 18% of the time that I'm serious and I'm joking and I'm serious, I'm really serious, you'll know because I'm going to put up my finger and do the thing that I hate the most. You ever hate those people who put up quotes while they're talking? You know, Jack said he was going to the, quotes, movies. Oh boy. They're as bad as people who smile all the time. But anyway, so he goes on to say, I'm being serious. But when I'm being serious, you'll know it. You want to me, seriously, see me and Charles Barkley going back and forth on TNT. Now, we all know who Charles Barkley is. Charles is a rather humorous individual who's a rather large individual who played basketball as well. Now, that's when I'm mad and when I'm serious. Other than that, you're not going to get that out of me. So I was just joking, people. The earth is not round. It's flat. Well, I mean the earth is not flat. It's round. Shaq, you are correct. What are you correct about, Shaq? I don't know. Now you're going to have to tell if I'm joking. Folks, I know for a fact, because I've seen it for my very own eyes, the earth is flat. Okay? Okay, so I was hoping this would take me to the end of the first break in this half hour, but it didn't. It left me about 6 minutes. So I'm going to have to find somebody who's in a serious mood today to talk about the Jesuits. Now, you know, along with many, many people who listen to my show, all 4 or 5 of us, that I've been exposing Jesuit intrigue for a long, long time. And the reason is because I was in Rome and I saw it firsthand. And that takes me back to some of my great stories that happened in Rome. I can't get onto them now because they're all pretty funny. And I said I'd be serious for the last segment of the show. So I'm going to have to turn it over to Ian Paisley. He was a reverend, a pastor from the other side of the Atlantic Ocean, who really exposed the Jesuits in his own way. And he does it in a really, really good manner. I learned a lot from him. He's no longer with us, I believe. If he is, I apologize. But I believe he passed away, but I'm not sure. I think he did. If he didn't, then I apologize. But if he did, I hope you're in a better place than here. So anyway, let's turn it over to Ian How do you pronounce that name anyway? Ian or Ian? It's a tough name to pronounce. But anyway, the English know how. So let me turn it over to Ian Paisley, Reverend Ian Paisley, to expose the Jesuit order in a very serious manner. Here we go. I like this introduction. Build up. Here we go.
And his murder man, an exposure of the Jesuits. Recently, at a press conference in the Stormont Parliament buildings, I dealt with a political statement made by Bishop Castle Daly of the Roman Catholic hierarchy in Ireland. The bishop had put forth 4 propositions. Number 1, that Mrs. Thatcher, the British Prime Minister's out statement rejecting the proposals of the New Ireland Forum for a United Ireland played into the hands of the IRA. 2, that all Unionists who rejoiced at that statement should be bracketed with the IRA as extremists. 3, that Roman Catholics in Northern Ireland were denied real rights and democracy. 4, that the Dublin government had just as much right in the North as had the British government. That final proposition, by the way, is a treasonable doctrine which would morally justify an invasion by the South of the North of Ireland. Commenting, I called the bishop the Black Pope of the Republican movement. The pressmen present threw up their hands in seeming horror, but none of them knew who the Black Pope was. I explained that the Black Pope was the name given to the head of the Jesuit order, the most powerful order within the Roman Catholic system. In an aside, I might say that the bishop should have felt very pleased that I had elevated him so high up in the hierarchy of the church to which he belongs. Then, when I explained to the press who the Black Pope really was, the head of the Jesuits, they again said, "Who are the Jesuits?" And I described them as the Gestapo of the Roman Catholic Church, the front men who carry out the Pope's orders throughout Christendom. Again, the press men represented threw up their hands in seeming horror and said this was a terrible thing to say about any order within the Roman Catholic Church. But what are the facts? I quote from The Secret History of the Jesuits by Edmund Hollis. I'm giving a quotation from the Reform, which is what the press of the Spanish dictator Franco published on the 3rd of May, 1945, the day of Hitler's death. Quote, Adolf Hitler, son of the Catholic Church, died...
Okay, we are going to get into that in the second half hour because I'm running out of time. That was Ian Paisley going to give you a great quote about a Jesuit intrigue and who they really are. And I hope you come back. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about in the second half hour on the Investigative Journal. I'm Greg Anthony. See you then.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. if some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The following program is labeled dangerous and off limits by the supreme Jesuit command. But stand tall, people. Listen up, and you may just learn something.
Oh, dear Lord Jesus, this ain't happening, man. This can't be happening, man. This isn't happening.
Okay, boys and girls, we are back for the second half hour, and I'm turning it over to a serious gentleman called Ian Paisley. But before I do, let me just say this. Come to my website at greganthonysjournal.wordpress.com, and you can get shows going way back for over a decade regarding what I call the Vatican Led New World Order. And don't forget to donate. We're listener-sponsored, and I appreciate everything you can do. Here's Ian Paisley.
While defending Christianity, it is therefore understandable that words cannot be found to lament over his death, when so many were found to exalt his life. Over his mortal remains stands his victorious moral figure. With the palm of the martyr, God gives Hitler the laurels of victory. End of the quotation. Then in page 166 of the same book, we read the statement of Walter Schellenberg, former chief of German counter-espionage, who had the complete confidence of Hitler. After the war, Schellenberg wrote, quote, "The SS organization that is the Gestapo, had been constituted by Himmler according to the principles of the Jesuits' order. Their regulations and the spiritual exercises prescribed by Ignatius of Loyola were the model Himmler tried to copy exactly. The Reichsfuhrer SS, Himmler's title as Supreme Chief of the SS, was to be the equivalent of the Jesuits' general. End of the quotation. Let me give a final quotation from the leading Jesuit, Michael Scormios, who eventually became a cardinal in the church. He says, the National Socialist movement, that is the fascist movement of Hitler, is the most vigorous and massive protest against the spirit of the 19th and 20th centuries. A compromise between the Catholic faith and liberal thinking is impossible. Nothing is more contrary to Catholicism than democracy. The reawakened meaning of strict authority opens up again the way to the real interpretation of ecclesiastical authority. The mistrust of liberty is founded on the Catholic doctrine of original sin. The National Socialist commandments and those of the Catholic Church have the same aim. End of the quotation. These quotations alone prove conclusively that my definition of the Jesuits was a correct one. As a result of this controversy, many questions have been asked, and of course a whole series of attacks have been made upon my person and also upon my staff. So I believe it is incumbent upon me to deal with the Jesuits, to say something of their history, something of their doctrines, and something of their program. On one of the walls of the Church of the Jesuits in Rome, there is a unique plaster cast. It depicts one of the saints of the Roman Catholic Church, Ignatius Loyola himself, with his foot on the neck of Protestantism. In St. Peter's itself, there is a colossal idol of the same Roman saint. He is depicted there in monkey's gown and cowl. A large open book rests on his left arm. On the first page are the words in Latin, "To the greater glory of God." On the opposite page, also in Latin, "Constitutions of the Society of Jesus." The devil stands before him with a Jesuit's face, hair divided as long tongues of fire, left hand clenched and held close to the mouth, while the right holds a closed book with the fingers within it. A serpent with awful head and teeth is beneath. These two pieces of a Roman idolatrous sculpture are very significant. This Roman manufactured saint, Ignatius Loyola, was the founder of the Jesuit order, or the Society of Jesus, as he blasphemously called it. Its purpose is to stamp on the neck of Protestantism. The idol in St. Peter's has monk, devil, and serpent united. Excellent representatives of the devilish character of the Jesuit. Every Jesuit is outwardly a monk, inwardly a devil, and altogether a serpent. It is the Jesuits who control Rome's ecumenical movement. When the second Pope John the 23rd set up the Vatican Secretariat for Unity, he made Cardinal FIat, a German Jesuit, its president. This is deeply significant. As a leading Jesuit cardinal, FIat had at his disposal the greatest spy ring in Europe, his own society, to feed back to him all the vital information concerning the leadership and vulnerability of the great Protestant denominations, which he was aiming to subvert to the papacy. His success was astounding. Archbishop Fisher visited the Pope and appointed in association with his successor, Archbishop Ramsay, then Archbishop of York, one Canon Polly of Ely Cathedral, to be personal representative of Canterbury and York at the Secretariat, over which FIat presides in Rome. Cardinal FIat was also received at Lambeth Palace by Dr. Ramsay, and no doubt from the Vatican side was responsible for Dr. Ramsay's visit to the Pope. Those visits herald a succession of visits by archbishops of Canterbury. Dr. Fisher was the first in a long queue of professed Protestant church leaders who lined up at the Vatican to slapper on the Pope's slippers. These included Dr. Jackson of the Southern Baptist Convention of the United States of America, Dr. Lichtenberger, presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church of the USA, a president of the British Methodist Conference, and Dr. A.C. Craig, moderator of the Church of Scotland. In Ireland, another Jesuit priest, Michael Hurley, was the leader in subverting the main Protestant denominations to Rome. As far back as 1963, he issued a book called Praying for Unity, in which he made it crystal clear that the ultimate purpose of the January week of prayer was the union of all Protestant denominations with Rome under the sovereign leadership of the Pope. His Jesuitical cunning was demonstrated by his success in obtaining for his book introductory messages by George Otto Sims, Church of Ireland, Archbishop of Dublin at that time, W.A. Montgomery, moderator of the Irish Presbyterian Church at that time, and Frederick E. Hill, president of the Irish Methodist Church at that time. The only Protestant church in Ireland attacked by this Jesuit production was the Free Presbyterian Church of Ulster, of which I am honored to be moderator. One of the contributors was priest Dennis Fall, soon to be known as the infamous Republican apologist and reviler of the Royal Ulster Constabulary. As can be expected, the book was the usual concoction of lies in which all Jesuits revel. We wrote to the author, challenging him on the issue, but he couldn't even reply. He couldn't answer. He was a peddler of lies. Of course, any man who blasphemously claims to turn a pancake or wafer in the Mass into Jesus Christ and forgive sins could write or claim anything. What has been described by the Church of Ireland Gazette as a representative ecumenical gathering in Drogheda was organized by the same Jesuit Hurley. The meeting was held in a convent school of the Roman Catholic Presentation Sisters and clergy of the Irish Episcopal Church, the Church of Ireland, the Irish Presbyterian Church, and the Irish Methodist Church joined with Romanists in unity discussions. Two Irish Presbyterian professors, Barclay and McFadden, took a prominent part in that discussion. A few days later, the hypocrite Professor Barclay wrote to the press declaring there was no retreat to Rome. How naive does he think Ulster Protestants are? In England, the Jesuit Thomas Corbishley was the leader. The fact that he preached from the pulpit of Westminster Abbey showed how powerful his influence was. The tremendous protest in which we had the honor of taking part must have been a very bitter pill for him to swallow. The far-reaching effect of that protest can be gauged from the following extract of the national daily paper, The Sun. I quote from January the 24th, 1966. Today the Pope told more than 7,000 pilgrims gathered in St. Peter's Square. We must pray for the unity of all separated Christians. As you know, the problem of the union of all Christians is of grave importance and great immediacy. But we must confront it, even if it gives rise to so many difficulties, and perhaps the hour is near. The paper comments, the Pope's words about so many difficulties, some Vatican officials believe, may have referred to such incidents as the one in London on Friday night, when a group of die-hard Protestants demonstrated outside Westminster Abbey while a Jesuit priest was preaching there. The Anglican Bishop Hodson of Hereford joined the Jesuit Corbishley at a unity service in Birmingham. Later I debated Corbishley at Queen's University. In the light of these facts, that the Jesuits spearheaded Rome's ecumenical movement to take over the main Protestant denominations, we would do well to take a closer view of the Jesuits and their working, especially in view of the storm of protest that has come about when I called Cahill Daly the Black Pope of the Republican movement. We will consider then the start, the sign, the system, the secrecy, and the strategy of the Jesuits. First then, the start of the Jesuits. Ignatius Loyola, the founder of the Society of Jesus, was born 8 years after the great German reformer Martin Luther. He belonged to an ancient Spanish family. He became a soldier and was severely wounded in one engagement, in which he greatly distinguished himself. During the tedious illness resulting from his wound, he read Roman Catholic literature. This resulted in his embracing a stern asceticism. For a time he lived in a cave and took to extreme penances. This led to morbid broodings. His imagination ran riot. On one occasion we are informed he saw the Holy Spirit in the form of 3 notes closely bound together, hanging on a stalk. And to his holy eyes, moreover, the host was transformed into the true God-man. The fanaticism resulting from such visions inspired Ignatius and his followers to diabolical deeds on behalf of the Roman Catholic system. During this time, Loyola conceived the plan of a new society which was to combat the Reformation. On August the 15th, 1534, Ignatius and 6 associates dedicated themselves in the crypt of the Notre Dame de Montmartre. In 1537, they offered themselves to the Pope and declared that they would raise a mighty army of holy knights, whose sole aim would be to overthrow all the enemies of the Church of Rome. Pope Paul III gladly accepted their services, especially as the order swore explicit military obedience, not merely canonical, to him, and gave all its services entirely without money and without price. A papal bull which bore the title, Raised to the Government of the Church Militant, constituted the order on September the 27th, 1540. The bull declared that the persons enrolled were constituted an army to bear the standard of the cross, to wield the arms of God, to serve the only Lord God and the Roman Pontiff, his vicar on earth. So started the most murderous and diabolical society to whom the Roman harlot ever gave birth. Secondly, the sign of the Jesuits. When the original group met in the crypt of Notre Dame de Montmartre, rose from their knees, Ignatius pointed to the letters on the altar, IHS. These stand for Jesus, Commandant, Salvator, Jesus the Savior of mankind, and they shall henceforth be the motto of our institution. IHS is the sign of the Jesuits. These letters do not stand for what Ignatius affirmed. They are in fact the pagan mystical symbol of the Egyptian Trinity. Isis, Horus, and Zeth, the mother, child, and father of the gods. No honest person could imagine that this double sense is accidental. IHS pay the semblance of a tribute to Christianity, but they are in reality the substance of devil worship. The cloven hoof is upon them. I would advise everyone to read Hislop's Two Babylons on this subject. Yes, and wherever these mystic letters, IHS, the sign of the Jesuits, are found, be sure that sooner or later those using them will be revealed as doing the work of the Jesuits. These are the first symbols erected in Protestant churches by the Romanizing clergy. Let them be kept out of every Protestant church, for the substance will follow the sign as sure as night follows day. 3. The system of the Jesuits. The Jesuitical system is one of dissimulation, hypocrisy, and immorality. A book called The Secreta Monitor, a copy of which is in the British Museum, contains instructions for the operation of the Jesuit system. The book is a masterpiece of diabolical deception. As might be expected, the book has been repudiated by the Jesuits. In its 18th chapter, it states curiously enough that this repudiation must take place if it should be discovered. The evidence of the genuineness of the book is incontrovertible. What is more, the Jesuits have always worked along the lines laid down in its corrupting pages. Jesuitism has three great governing principles. 1, the doctrine of probability. 2, the doctrine of philosophical sin. 3, the doctrine of the direction of attention. 1, the doctrine of probability. The Jesuits' own interpretation of it is that when, upon any moral question, two different opinions are entertained by any celebrated casuist, of which opinions the one is more probable and in conformity with the law, the other less probable but more agreeable to our desires, we may lawfully put the latter in practice. Even of two contradictory probable opinions, says the Jesuit Paul Lehman, touching the legality or illegality of any human action, every one may follow in practice or in action that which he should prefer, although it may appear to the agent himself less probable in theory. The Jesuit Gasnetti goes further even than this, for he says that whosoever says that the law is not binding cannot sin. In other words, any plausible excuse whatever is a sufficient excuse for sin. Secondly, the doctrine of philosophical sin. By this doctrine, the Jesuits mean any action contrary to the dictates of nature and right reason may be done by a person who is ignorant of the written law of God or doubtful of its meaning. Ignorance or doubt, therefore, according to this doctrine, alters the character of sin. 3, the doctrine of the direction of attention. The meaning of this doctrine is that actions intrinsically evil and directly contrary to the divine laws may be innocently performed by those who have so much power over their own minds as to join even ideally a good end to the wicked action contemplated. That is to say, let a man only stifle his conscience or divert his thoughts for the time from his sin to some other object or seek some good end, and he may do what he will. By these doctrines, the Jesuits in their writings show how every one of the 10 commandments can be broken without sin. It was Cardinal Manning, running true to Jesuitical principles, who said of the authors of the Jesuit gunpowder plot, while on earth they wore the garb of felons, in heaven they stand arrayed in white and crowned. Here they are arrayed in a dock as malefactors. There they sit by the throne of the Son of God. The late Lord Palmerston once said, the presence of the Jesuits in any country, Catholic or Protestant, is likely to breed social disturbance. A French Roman Catholic priest, Arnold, warned, do you wish to provoke revolution? To produce the total ruin of your country? Call in the Jesuits. The character of the order can be proved by the historical fact that up to the year 1860, no fewer than 70 times it had been expelled from countries in which it had been working. What is more, in 1773, Pope Clement XIV abolished the order altogether.
Okay, I'm all out of time, and I'm going to have to break it off right there. But he did break it off in saying that Pope Clement III disbanded them in the Jesuits in 1773, which was true. But I have a little bit different take on the reason behind that. And you know that if you've listened to some of my other shows. So we'll get back to that tomorrow on the Investigative Journal. Thanks for listening. Go to my website at greganthonysjournal.wordpress.com. You can get shows going back well over 12 to 13 years regarding the Vatican Led New World Order. That's greganthonysjournal.wordpress.com. And see you tomorrow on the Investigative Journal.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.